According to General Hospital teasers on Monday, July 14th, Willow Tate will blame Michael Corinthos, while Carly Spencer is outraged by the Daisy Gilmore scenario. Jason Morgan will also receive a warning after crossing the line. So let's talk about what's next in Port Charles. After Vaughn and Jocelyn Jack's brief Jack Brennan on their aborted Emma Scorpio plan, he may wonder if they're doing enough to complete their objective. Brennan will put pressure on Jocelyn and Vaughn to completely commit, so they must be willing to make some big decisions for the sake of this WSB assignment. Elsewhere, Anna Devane will open up to Felicia Scorpio, so she may mention meeting Vaughn and express her distrust. Meanwhile, Emma will confess to someone, and she may show Giovanni Gio Palmieri the master key she stole from Vaughn at Brown Dog Bar. Next, Marco Rios will ask why Alexis Davis believes Sonny had nothing to do with Natalia Ramirez's death. Alexis understands that Sonny is capable of truly horrific things, yet she will think he is innocent in this situation. Blaze, alias Allison Allie Rogers, was someone Christina Corinthos Davis adored, so Alexis may argue that Sonny would never kill her mother, no matter how difficult Blaze's relationship with Natalia was. Natalia's memorial will also be included on Monday's episode of GH, so expect some difficult moments throughout the funeral. During the gathering, Jen Sidwell will discuss Natalia's death with Lucy Coe, implying that no one knows what happened at this time. Carly will learn the latest news about Sasha Gilmore Corbin's want to leave town with Daisy as a result of the stalker issue. Sonny, Carly, and Michael will be present to discuss Sasha and Daisy's decision to relocate for their own protection. The prospect that someone is after Daisy because of Sonny will be raised, causing Carly to become even more concerned about their family's safety. Carly will wish there was another solution for Daisy and Sasha, since she will be devastated at the prospect of her baby granddaughter leaving PC. Willow will go on a rage during a discussion with Isaiah Gannon. Willow will say that Michael drove her to all of it, though she is unlikely to reveal the details about exploiting Daisy or gaslighting Sasha. While Willow blames Michael for her difficulties, Lulu Spencer will issue a warning to Jason Morgan. Jason recently spoke with Rocco Falconeri about Britt Westbourne, but Lulu makes it clear that this will never happen again. Lulu is unaware of it, but she has more pressing concerns because Rocco was recently observed sending an email to Liesl Obrecht, who is returning to Port Charles. According to General Hospital spoilers, Rocco's storyline is about to take some unexpected turns, so stay tuned. According to General Hospital spoilers and updates, Willow Tate may face arrest and imprisonment as a result of her recent offenses against Daisy Celeste Gilmore. These sins also affect Daisy's parents, Sasha Corbin and Michael Corinthos. Thus, let's talk about the big disclosure that just happened and the potential consequences Willow may face. Daisy definitely has a stalker. Daisy has been rumored to have a stalker since her birth. Someone was clearly observing, from Sasha Corbin receiving the wrong baby at the hospital to the new mother discovering the infant in a different onesie. The program on Tuesday, July 8th, confirmed that Willow Tate was not simply watching over Daisy from a distance. She is also reportedly taking her out of her crib for walks. Willow gently informed Daisy that she was unhappy with both Sasha for betrayal and Michael for taking her children away, and that it was time for them to feel what she felt. Willow's mental health meltdown. GH watchers have witnessed Willow go through a mental health crisis after losing full custody of Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Michael was granted sole guardianship of the children, which Willow has found difficult to accept. She has not only pursued Daisy, but she has also deliberately attempted to meet Michael and Wiley in the Metro Court pool. This is out of character for her and directly contradicts the judge's court order, breaking several important statutes as she emotionally unravels. Most importantly, she should not be near Daisy at all, much less pick her up from her crib. Simply stepping into the Quartermain mansion without permission is a violation, which might land Emma in serious trouble. Some assume Sasha is struggling with postpartum issues, looking at you, Olivia Quartermain, but the new mother will eventually face charges of mental health difficulties. The truth will ultimately come out, so what will happen when it does? Surely, neither Michael nor Sasha will allow Willow off the hook, and she will face the full extent of the law. It doesn't help that Sasha is a Scorpio, and her uncle Max Scorpio also runs the Port Charles Police Department. Even if Sasha and Michael want to ease up on Willow because she is the mother of Daisy's siblings, Mac will not allow it. However, the topic of Willow's mental health cannot be disregarded. She is plainly struggling, and some General Hospital viewers believe she may have dissociative identity disorder. This could explain Willow's peculiar recent behavior. If Willow is diagnosed with DID when the truth is exposed, she may end herself in Ferncliff rather than prison. According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow will face penalties for her terrible sins against Daisy, Sasha, and Michael no matter what happens. So, whether she goes to jail or a treatment center, she will be separated from her children Wiley and Amelia for a long time. General Hospital spoilers for Friday, July 11th, state that Rocco Falconeri will make a bold move as Michael Corinthos serves as referee. Jocelyn Jacks will also issue a public ultimatum to Vaughn, so there will be a lot of activity in Port Charles. At Brown Dog Bar, Jocelyn and Vaughn will have a heated dispute in which he appears compelled to pick between Joss and Emma Scorpio Drake. Of course, this will simply be another instance of Jocelyn putting on a show for Emma's sake. It will allow Vaughn to develop his bond with Emma and continue working toward his goal of derailing her Professor Henry Hank Dalton probe. Anna Devane will have her hands full with Emma on Friday's episode of General Hospital. Emma will be unhappy about something. Therefore Anna may force her to give up her new beagle, Outback. Vaughn said to Jocelyn that he had a pet beagle who died when he was young. Jocelyn was unsure whether the narrative was true or not, but it doesn't matter as long as it works on Emma. Perhaps Vaughn will pretend to be Outback's true owner or promise to take her in if Anna forces her to leave. Anything that brings Vaughn closer to Emma will benefit him right now. Anna may also feel the urge to keep an eye on Emma during Friday's event. Once Anna arrives at the Brown Dog Bar, she will have Isaiah Gannon cover her while they sit together. Will Anna suspect something isn't right about Vaughn? It could lead to trouble if Vaughn attracts too much attention, prompting Anna to probe him further. Portia Robinson will feel that Curtis Ashford is treating her unfairly and unworthy. Portia will mock Curtis as their argument becomes increasingly acrimonious. Curtis will most likely offer Portia updates on Kai Taylor's betrayal at some point. However, Kai will come clean to Trina Robinson, who will be shocked when he says he told Drew Kane what Curtis was planning. Trina will lose her cool when she finds Kai prioritized Drew above all else and destroyed Curtis' Jacinda plot. Spencer Cassadine would never have done that, which makes Kai's actions even more disappointing. Tracy Quartermaine will warn Harrison Chase about Brooke Lynn Quartermaine's impending disaster. Unfortunately, this warning will come too late, as Brooke Lynn has already made a significant mistake. Lulu Spencer ripped at Brooke Lynn over Rocco's finding about Britt Westbourne, but now it's Dante Falconeri's chance to express his fury. Dante will be furious with Brooke Lynn for leaving that file out, denying them the opportunity to tell Rocco the truth about his birth. Michael will most likely feel compelled to serve as referee because he will be present when the battle begins. Michael may defend Brooke Lynn because she attempted to call off her vindictive scheme and did not intend to harm Rocco. Even nevertheless, Dante will be furious and may force Michael to leave because this does not concern him. Brooke Lynn may eventually explain herself and remind Dante of Lulu's own faults with Giovanni Gio Palmieri, but this will do little to alleviate Dante's rage. Across town, Lulu will tell Laura Collins about what Brooke Lynn did and how bewildered Rocco feels. Laura will support Lulu and will undoubtedly have harsh words for Brooke Lynn sooner or later. Elsewhere, Rocco will make a risky move that could land him in hot water. Will Rocco decide he needs to be alone with his thoughts and flee without revealing where he is going? If Lulu can't find Rocco, she might call Dante in a panic, so we'll see how things turn out. This may allow Gio to assist with the hunt and reunite Rocco with his parents shortly. Willow hadn't intended to lose her temper, but it had been building for weeks. The soft-spoken serenity that often guided her actions had been buried beneath annoyance, disappointment, and something she scarcely wanted to admit, betrayal. Michael had promised her serenity. He had promised that after all of the fights, danger, and upheaval, his family would have a chance at normalcy. Wiley and Amelia's life was free of retribution and loyalty tests. But it was a falsehood, or perhaps a desire he couldn't fulfill. Willow felt cornered, and for the first time, her rage did not simmer quietly. It pierced through the surface of her voice, piercing the walls of their home, as she chastised Michael for bringing her back into a world she no longer desired. Michael raised his hands defensively, his expression somewhere between remorse and disbelief. He attempted to explain to reason that he had not intended for things to turn out this way, that Sonny's recent decline, Jason's homecoming, and Drew's unraveling all caught him off guard as well. But Willow was no longer interested in justifications. She had stood by Michael when he wavered in his loyalty, when he chose vengeance above reconciliation, when he united with Dex and excluded her. But now, with Carly in a tailspin over Daisy and additional danger looming over Jason and Sunny, Willow felt like a pawn, just another collateral piece on the Corinthos board. Meanwhile, Carly had reached a breaking point. Daisy's name had been thrown around with increasing frequency during the last 4 days, and it irritated every nerve Carly had left. The girl had thrust herself into Michael's environment with a self-righteous demeanor and poorly veiled ambitions. Carly was not blind. Daisy's deliberate grace dazzled many around her, but Carly recognized the type. The lovely voice, the empathic smiles, and the always available shoulder to weep on were all masks. Daisy had wormed her way into conversations she had no business being in, and she was now influencing Michael's judgments. Carly addressed Michael first, demanding to know why Daisy was suddenly involved in delicate family affairs. Michael had no good responses. He tripped and tried to reassure Carly that Daisy was not a threat, but she did not believe him. Carly did not trust readily, and when her instincts told her someone was a problem, she went to fight. She stormed out of the Quartermain mansion, having clearly shown her indignation. Daisy was a ticking time bomb, and Carly was determined to break the cord before she destroyed everything they had. However, Carly was not the only one who had a fire kindled beneath her. Lulu returned to Port Charles with the piercing clarity that only time and distance could provide. She had been healing in silence, away from the chaos and tragedy that had marked her final days before the coma. However, watching from afar had heightened her instincts rather than diminished them. She knew who Jason was. She understood what his homecoming would entail. She did not return to slowly fade into the background. She came back to speak the truth, and Jason was her first target. She discovered him alone by the docks, standing in that stoic calm that had always trailed him like a shadow. Lulu's voice sliced through everything with surgical precision. She accused him not of the ordinary offenses, but of a deeper betrayal. His silence. His absence. She accused him of allowing anarchy to reign in his absence, allowing people like Dex to gain power, and failing to do more to defend those they had left behind. Her remarks were harsh but not without pain. She had once trusted Jason, relying on him at difficult times. But her homecoming had reopened old wounds. Jason, to his credit, did not defend himself. He accepted it as he always did, and let Lulu speak what she needed to say. As the days progressed, the distinctions between comrades and foes became increasingly blurred. Willow remained apart from Michael, spending more time with Wiley and Amelia and seeking solace in routines that did not include strategy sessions or mob politics. But every peaceful moment reminded her of what she had lost: trust in her husband and the future they had envisioned. Michael made a sincere effort to bridge the gap, explaining that he was attempting to balance too many things simultaneously. But Willow's heart was tired. She wasn't sure if love could keep them together after the foundation had cracked so severely. Meanwhile, Carly's conflict with Daisy worsened. Daisy began to strike back, not directly but by influence. She spoke with Willow, deliberately sowing doubt about Carly's objectives and portraying herself as the innocent victim of a powerful woman's vendetta. Willow, vulnerable and wobbly, listened, not because she believed Daisy outright, but because the version of Carly Daisy portrayed was not unlike to the woman Willow had seen lash out far too frequently. Carly instantly realized that Daisy was not going to be easy to discredit. The young woman was intelligent, calculating, and suddenly had supporters. Carly's normal tactics, intimidation, pressure, and smart alliances, were not working. Jason, for his part, attempted to remain neutral, but his presence alone rekindled tensions. Drew still didn't trust him. Michael was divided between his allegiance to Jason and his desire to rebuild his relationship with Willow. Lulu, while calmer in the days that followed their disagreement, maintained an edge around Jason. She had not come to forgive. She came to make sure her voice was heard again, and she wasn't about to allow Jason return to his previous job without first considering the cost of his absence. Willow found herself roaming the hospital corridors again one day, this time seeking tranquility rather than being a patient. She went to Harmony's plaque in the memorial garden and let her feelings out. She discussed the mess her life had become, Michael, and her dread of becoming bitter and frigid. Even amid the silence, she didn't find the clarity she was looking for. She felt she had to make a decision. Either stay on the edge of her marriage or dive back in totally and honestly. But trust, once damaged, did not heal quickly. Michael made one final gesture. He led Willow to the footbridge, their location. The one unaffected by mob activity or family scandal. Only the two of them. He poured his heart out, admitting that he had lost himself in his pursuit of power and revenge, that he never intended to push her away, and that he wanted her forgiveness. Willow cried, actually cried, not in anguish but in relief. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that they could still make things work. They reconnected for a brief while under the peaceful canopy of trees. But moments are fleeting. The following day, Carly confronted Daisy in public, at the Metro Court, and chaos ensued. Accusations flew. Carly cautioned Daisy to keep away from Michael, Willow, and their entire family. Daisy retaliated with accusations of manipulation and deception, even bringing up Nina, pointing out Carly's own failings. The observers were startled, and by the end, Carly had proclaimed all-out war. Jason observed from the sidelines, always the enforcer and never the instigator. But even he understood that this time the cracks could be too deep to heal. Lulu approached him again, more cautiously than before. She made no apologies for what she had said, but she did admit that Port Charles needed Jason. Not simply a mob enforcer but a guardian. The man who maintained the balance between chaos and order. Jason understood, but he also realized he couldn't repair everything. The storm had already broken. Willow returned to the Quartermain house and sat in Amelia's nursery, gently rocking the infant to sleep. Michael peeked in and saw the tranquility of the situation. He desired that serenity, but he was also aware that the world beyond their door was becoming darker. Daisy in the shadows was not done. Carly's rage had sparked something in her. A drive not only to live but to triumph. Willow's heart remained heavy while she cradled her daughter. Love was no longer a question. The question was whether love could withstand the weight of reality, whether she could trust again, whether Carly could let go of her fury, and whether Jason could return without re-engaging them in past fights. And whether Michael, who was still striving to be everything to everyone, would eventually decide who he wanted to be. For her, their children, and himself. Willow sat calmly in the Quartermain garden, the last of the summer sun casting a golden glow over the well-kept flowers. To the outer world she appeared calm, but inside a storm was brewing. She hadn't spoken for months. She'd buried her anguish, smiled for Wiley, and clung to optimism. But the truth couldn't be disguised forever. Not after what happened to Sasha. Not after the lies Michael had to endure. And certainly not after what Daisy was forced to undergo. It was Willow's turn now, and she was not backing down. Willow's perception of family had been shattered by her experience with Nina. Forgiveness had been difficult enough after the truth about her mother's identity was revealed. But what followed, the relentless manipulations, the deliberate sabotage of her relationship with Michael, had chilled her heart. She'd attempted to believe in redemption. She tried to give Nina a chance. But then Sasha was nearly destroyed, and Michael's allegiance was put to the ultimate test. Daisy, gentle and innocent, had paid a price no one saw coming. Sasha's downward spiral was not accidental. Willow understood that now. There were whispers among the employees at Deception. Files had gone missing. Medications are tampered with. All gradual, almost undetectable. Until Sasha spiraled out of control and Gladys arrived to assist. Willow was appalled by what she uncovered during Sasha's recovery process. Someone had enabled the turmoil. Someone had benefited from her anguish. Even after Gladys was gone, the damage remained, inscribed in Sasha's guarded grin and reluctance to trust. Michael had uncovered some of the narrative. He went to Sunny for help, but the relationship between father and son was already tense. Drew's influence had weakened their once strong alliance. And Nina, ever crafty, had utilized the schism to fuel her narrative, portraying herself as the misunderstood victim and exploiting Sunny's devotion. Michael was aware of the situation. Willow knew. However, confronting Sunny directly risked shattering their already fractured family unit. Nonetheless, justice demanded sacrifice. Daisy had gotten caught in the crossfire. She was not a Corinthians. She was not a Quartermain. She lacked a name and the safety that such identities provided. But she was brave. When she saw Sasha wounded, she stood up. She refused to look away. As a result, she was targeted, tormented, ostracized, and nearly framed for the company's missing assets. Willow had supported her through it all. She had helped her clear her name, but it wasn't enough. Daisy had lost too much. Her career, her repute. She feels safe. Willow was unable to forgive that. She had previously been the one in need of saving. When she was stuck in her own cult of silence under Shiloh's control, others reached out their hands and pulled her away. Now she owed the same rescue to people in need, particularly those without powerful surnames or criminal links. So she made a strategy. Not quite retribution. That would have been easy. Petty. This was not about retaliation. It was about exposing the rot. The stealthy corruption that had transformed Port Charles into a city of shadows. She was not going after Nina alone. No, she was pulling on every thread. Valentine's questionable reappointment to ELQ. Carly turned a blind eye during her battle with Nina. Drew was manipulating things behind the scenes. All of it. Willow began gathering evidence. At first, it was minor details, overheard conversations, strange emails forwarded by mistake, Daisy's testimony. Then she dug deeper. She traced money trails, backdated stock transactions, and silent partnerships that didn't quite add up with Michael's assistance, despite his initial reluctance. Sasha, now stronger and more focused than ever, joined the cause, desperate to safeguard the younger models at Deception who were beginning to speak out about similar abuses of authority. The trio operated secretly. Willow was in charge of public relations and legal advisories. Sasha managed Deception's internal intrigues. Michael, fed up with being everyone's pawn, began leaking carefully picked information to the media. Anonymous tips, snippets of truth just sharp enough to break through the shiny veneers that concealed the town's darkest secrets. Then came an opportunity. Nina was organizing a gala in her honor, billed as a charity event to promote awareness about mental health and addiction recovery. Sasha nearly choked when she heard the irony. Nina had once attempted to have her declared mentally unstable in order to grab control. She wanted to play the role of savior. Willow knew this was the perfect setting. They did not want to destroy it with a public confrontation. Willow wasn't striving for that style. Instead, they would let the truth do its thing. Sasha would speak quietly and honestly, without accusation. She would tell her story. And behind the scenes, Michael would make sure the reporters had all they needed. Photos. Documents. Proof. By the time the gala lights went out, the entire town would know. There was a risk. Sunny could retaliate. Drew might close it down. And if cornered, Nina could do anything. But Willow had changed. She was no longer the quiet instructor or the frightened nurse. She was a mother. A survivor. A lady who had seen too many people she cared about be broken for someone else's benefit. The night of the gala arrived. Everyone who was anyone in Port Charles turned out. Valentine stood smugly in the corner, holding a glass of champagne. Carly watched from behind, her gaze shifting between Willow and Sasha, unsure whether to intervene. Drew remained near the stage, sensing disaster. And Nina, dazzling, practiced, and ready to accept her plaudits, took center stage. Then Sasha moved forward. Her voice quivered at first, but she gathered herself. She spoke of facts, not accusations. Of betrayal. Of being taken advantage of at her lowest point. Of buddies who had become handlers. Strangers who had aided her devastation while claiming to assist. The room went silent. Whispers broke out. Then came the first phone call, a reporter checking their inbox. Then another. Faces started to pale. Valentine rushed quickly to his phone, and Nina's smile faded. Willow stood to the side watching events unfold. She had not needed to speak. Her actions had accomplished everything. The weight of her decisions crushed against her chest, but she had no regrets. Daisy, standing by her side, reached out and squeezed her hand. Justice was not always loud. Sometimes it was a whisper that grew into a roar. Following the catastrophe, the fallout began. ELQ launched a secret probe of Valentine's recent transactions. Drew found himself being questioned about how he managed Deception's cash. Nina was mortified in public and scrambled to perform damage control. And Sunny, possibly the most injured of them, did not rage. He just walked away. Willow knew he understood because of his quiet. Willow slept soundly for the first time in several months. The following morning, Sasha met her at Metro Court. She appeared tired yet liberated. "I didn't think I'd make it through that speech," she said. Willow smiled. "You didn't simply make it through." Daisy joined them a few minutes later, holding a copy of the Port Charles Press. The title reads, "Sasha Gilmore Speaks Out. Silence Ends at Deception." Below it is a quotation from the event. Sasha's words. Her truth. Willow sipped her coffee and gazed out over the city. Port Charles had not altered overnight, but a new stream was beginning to flow through its veins. One based not on power or intimidation but on truth. It was the beginning. She knew there would be backlash. Power has never surrendered without a battle. But for once, those who had endured in silence had the microphone. And she would be with them every step of the way. Not because she desired vengeance. Because they deserved justice. Laura encourages Lulu. Curtis informs Michael about the upcoming story. And Joss and Vaughn abandon their Emma scam. Sonny locked Gio out for his own protection. Sasha departed PC. Curtis gave in to Drew's demands, and Marco humiliated Boyle in public. When Kai arrives at the exhibition, Trina talks about how inspiring Joel Sartor was. She wonders where Kai is. He tells what happened to Jacinda, and how he told Drew what Curtis intended to do with her. This infuriates her. She can't believe it when he says her father set Drew up. He couldn't allow Drew be slandered. Trina wishes he was more loyal to her. She can't trust him after he vowed to do nothing. He has deceived her and her family. Kai maintains he cares about her and her family, but he can't stand by and watch anything bad happen. She believes he has no idea what's going on. He asks if she'd even want to be with him, and if he'd stand back and let this happen. She isn't sure she wants to be with him at all. She will always choose her family, and he will never be part of it. "Get out," she orders. Curtis informs Portia that he couldn't make it to the gallery because Drew was blackmailing him again. He explains that Kai revealed the entire plot to Drew. Portia recognizes that this is bad, particularly for their kid. Curtis warns her to be more concerned about Drew. Portia blames herself for the situation. They disagree about how to address this. He believes he must keep his commitments and protect her for the sake of their daughter. She doesn't care about his sense of honor and believes he doesn't think she's as worthy as Jordan. "Don't wait up," she exclaims, rushing out. Anna joins Gannon in the Brown Dog Bar. She's waiting for Felicia, but she just spotted Emma is with a man who is at least a decade her senior. As Vaughn and Emma prepare to leave for a calmer location, Anna rushes over and inquires about her friend. She insists that they stay so she may buy them a drink. Felicia texts to cancel and begins probing Vaughn. He leaves for the men's room. The women fight about her dating an older man. Emma claims she's an adult and he's gorgeous. Anna is particularly concerned because he works for facilities and she has a history of break-ins. When he returns, he is eager to depart. Anna will not hear of it. Before she can say anything, Joss steps in. Emma criticizes her of being too thirsty, and Joss suspects she picked up her ex. Joss informs Vaughn that it's either her or Emma. If she walks out, it's over. Vaughn calls Joss insane, but he's into it. They walk towards the door. He thanks her for protecting him, and they agree that if Anna is interested in him, they should abandon the Emma plan. To sell their reunion, they begin making out. Emma watches and argues that Joss is making a show of herself. Anna feels confident that everything turned out well. Emma looks down at a set of keys in her hand. Portia enters and sits with Gannon, instantly complaining about Jordan pursuing her husband. "If my marriage ends, I've got no one to blame but myself," she tells me. He compliments her and says that her husband is the source of the problem. He proposes that she start playing her own game, not Jordan's. She orders drinks for them. Laura visits Lulu, and her daughter informs her that Rocco has learned about Brit. "BLQ did it." "I'm sorry, little one," Laura says.